How to write comparison articles with Autoblogging AI. Today I'm joined with the founder, Vaibhav Sharda, and he's added a lot of new features like the brand voice feature and also the competitor research feature, which is allowing the content now for comparison articles to be enriched so much more. The semantic triples and the micro semantics being used in these comparison articles are being cited within 24 hours in ChatGPT and Google AI Overview. So let's get started, Vaibhav, to start with. Why is it important initially to write comparison articles, get compared against the entities that Google know, and try to frame it in a way with the claim, frame, and prove model of why you are better within these comparison articles?
So if you go to the basics, if you want to compare against any brand, you need to first know what that brand does or what it's good at, and then compare your brand on why you are good at that specific thing that the brand is good at. It sounds complex, but it's very much simple. Like for example, if Byword.ai is a competitor of Autoblogging.ai, and Byword.ai is good at programmatic SEO, so why Autoblogging.ai is better at programmatic SEO than Byword.ai? If you put out these comparison articles which are laser targeted on why a specific competitor is being cited or why, what it's good at, like just go for the USPs of those specific competitors and compare yourself against it. And if you genuinely believe or if you have verifiable facts on why your specific brand is better than your competitor for specific keywords, I think that's your whole game for competition articles. Yeah.
With regards to, before we move on to the verifiable facts, right, a lot of people in this talk about commodity content or AI slop. So they're going single prompt, going, create me a listicle for the best AI writing tools and put auto blogging #1, go. And then they wonder why the article doesn't rank. It doesn't rank in the top 50. It struggles to get the right competitors in there. It struggles to get the analysis and the comparison. It doesn't write it in semantic triple format, which is what Google prefers, to be able to lift the information, not just for Google rankings, but getting in the LLMs like ChatGPT, Gemini, Google AI mode. Can you explain a little bit of why single prompting AI is producing AI slop?
I think within the past 3 years, I think every brand out there has covered all these keywords, like 7 best article writing tools, or 7 best plumbers in specific city, or even like any random listicle that you pick up. Like this is like the most basic AI slop that comes out, and AI will basically focus on some of the features on why you're good at something, but then it will go haywire or lose context on why specific competitor is good at some stuff. So like it is not actually reliable when it comes to, like, if you go and read those articles, you will see like, okay, it doesn't really have any comparison table because all the features are not even comparing with each other. Now if you do if you target keyword like 7 best programmatic SEO tools, which are like 7 best article tools, right? But now you have data on which specific keywords or which specific brands Google loves when it comes to programmatic SEO. For example, Byword.ai is one of the brands, and then you put autoblogging out there, and then you put 5 other brands that Google thinks, okay, these are good for programmatic SEO. Now there's one specific feature basically in one context is the context is same. So now the features will talk about like, okay, how many articles does Byword.ai generates in one go? And if you have a table saying, okay, autoblogging supports 1,000 articles, Byword just supports 200 articles. What's the speed? What's the cost? So now you're comparing all the tools out there for specific features, features in a way, and this just adds to more complexity of verifiable details and not AI slop or just random statements out there. Okay, autoblogging is the best one because it is. That's it. Byword is not the best one. It is the second best one because it is. Like this is all AI slop, and it is not actually comparing, or it is not even helpful for users who visit your site, right? So, and the next thing is like use of semantic triples, like James said. So every article that comes out when it comes to listicle or comparison articles in autoblogging, what we have added is use of semantic triples. So if you frame a statement which is like not complete, it won't get picked up by Google. Like it is very hard for it to understand the context in the entire paragraph. So if your specific statement is complete, for example, autoblogging is better than byword.ai because it does this, because it has this. So it is entirely complete and it is factual in a way. So
Yeah.
this just, yeah,
What
it
what
just makes it easier for Google or AI or LLMs to pick it up. Yeah.
Yeah. And then with regards to writing comparison articles within Autoblogging.ai, I want to expand a little bit on. You've done Corey's course, and Scott's done it, and one or two other people have done it, and we've had a lot of help from all the community within Corey's Semantic SEO community and holistic community. And what I absolutely love that within Autoblogging.ai of what's being set up, what you were talking about there, and I think you used the word features, we've got different facets that's coming out, right? So, and they're creating different pages. So, where you're talking about for programmatic SEO, right? Let's say that's one of the facets there that's being used. Within there, where you're talking about how much does it cost? So, the cost and the price element is an attribute on that article, and then within there, then you've got then the speed and what it's being done and stuff like that. And you're able within HTML tables to compare all these different attributes, which is within NLP and within semantic SEO, exactly the information that Google is trying to pass and the information, the chunking parts, but also the large language models and the artificial intelligence are trying to pass those different attributes. And then you're connecting the predicates. So you're connecting the nodes and the edges together of why one is better than the other in comparison to price, in comparison to speed. And it's based on a very specific feature that somebody might want, like programmatic SEO. The depth that that's doing within Autoblogging.ai for the comparison articles is what's differentiating from being AI slop to being wow. This is now information gain. This is now verifiable facts. This is now the best article there is out there that's comparing A versus B versus C versus your brand. And having that information, when someone starts talking within the white hat community about you don't want to do AI slop, you want information gain. This is exactly what autoblogging is being set up to do. It's just people don't like the idea of it being automatic. But it's the amount of input and the amount of prompts that's being put in there. Like, there's thousands and thousands of lines of prompts to make certain that the micro semantics, that every single pixel, that every single letter, that every single sentence and paragraph and heading makes a difference, that feeds, there's no fluff, there's no AI slop. And that's why I love creating the articles, the comparison articles in autoblogging.ai. But expand a little bit on the brand voice feature. Expand a little bit on that of where you've done it and where customers have asked us specifically for comparison articles why they was asking for the brand voice feature for little things like who you are, what you do, and why you're brilliant. Because previously, even within autoblogging, we was having certain issues with certain like models that we was using for the writing for hallucination. So why was it important for you to create the brand voice feature to improve, lessen the amount of hallucination being done for writing comparison articles?
Yeah, so the main goal was to lessen the amount of hallucinations that AI used to think of, and that's what AI slop is. Now, if if you have used ChatGPT before to write content, and if you simply ask it to write some statistic figure, it will say, okay, Sarah, a marketing head, like Sarah is a like very common name out there for all ChatGPT's references. So Sarah used autoblogging and grew her followers from 1,000 to 10,000 visitors a month or so. Like these are all random facts. But with brand voice, you can actually go in and put all your awards that you have won. You can be specific. You can mention why specific competitor is like why you're better than a specific competitor. List down all your competitors. List down what you do, what your pricing is, what who who our team members are, and whatever. Like you can add more information, and all this like it is basically used by AI in the backend to keep on verifying like it is not adding more slop or hallucinating stuff, and it keeps on getting it back to track. Like the agent keeps on, there's a sub agent in a way which keeps on bringing it back to reality. Okay, no, do not think of any random stuff. These are actual verifiable facts which we need to input in the articles here.
Anyone who wants to get any articles being written, comparison articles, I strongly recommend going signing up to Autoblogging AI. Go into the brand voice feature, filling all the information, and just go and get one article written. You'll see the difference between the AI slop and the hyper specific data that's being pulled through for the awards, the testimonials, the reviews, the case studies. The more information you can put into that brand voice feature, the easier it then starts to become to write a comparison article against every single one of your competitors. So go and then write listicles. Anyone who wants to write listicles, check out a link in the description. We've got a whole episode of how to write listicles the right way, to making certain it's got those verifiable facts, to making certain it's got non-commodity content. All this is being done. The amount of prompts that go into the back end of Autoblogging.ai has been fed from SEOs that understand semantics to the next level, way more than I understand. We've got people in there that high-level semantic SEO people that are saying the micro semantics of that answer is not good enough. It needs refining. This needs refining. Why have you brought this heading in? That heading should be higher than this heading. And you're like, does that really matter? They're like, yeah, that attribute is more important than that attribute. And there's times it just goes above my head. All what I do know is when I've started to compare it, the articles side by side, and I've published them, the auto-blogging articles always seem to perform better when you're writing comparison articles within Autoblogging.ai. All I'm asking you to do is just go and try it. Go and try it out. It's going to cost you less than $10 to go sign up, add the brand voice feature, and write an article. And if you like it, you can scale it and you can do it for all different articles that you want. Once you've defined who you are, what you do, and why you're brilliant, you can quickly start scaling out those comparison articles. Something that you said before, Vaibhav, which I think is genius, the amount of people that write comparison articles, just A versus B, and that's it. Try and start doing some A versus B versus C versus your brand. Because when you start comparing 4x4, instead of it just being A versus B, people might want to know, okay, I might sign up to this, or this. And when they've got one article that can compare them all together and just compares all the different features and the attributes together, they can make a choice from that one article. Now, I'm hoping you're going to write it in a way that influences towards your own brand in why you are the best, which is being backed up with verifiable facts. But those A versus B versus C versus your brand is actually performing much better versus A versus B only, and just having a one comparison. The amount of people that I just see only comparing one plus the brand when they could be doing more, I think is key, and I think it works very, very well. But anyway, we hope you like the episode of how to write comparison articles with Autoblogging.ai. And Vaibhav, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me here.